Okay, let's jump right in. You know, for the longest time, a lot of people just wrote off Japanese animation as cartoons for kids. But now, it's become one of the most powerful cultural forces on the entire planet. This isn't some niche thing anymore, it's the new normal. I mean, just think about it for a second. You look at these huge blockbusters like The Matrix, Inception, even Spider-Verse. Their DNA, the very way they tell stories and frame their action sequences, is just completely coded with anime's unique style. It's like this hidden infrastructure holding up a ton of modern cinema. And it's not just movies, not by a long shot. You see it when high-fashion brands like Loewe dropped $3,000 handbags inspired by Studio Ghibli films, and they sell out instantly. Or when superstars like Megan Thee Stallion build entire incredible performances around cosplay. Anime has become the aesthetic of cool. So that brings us to the big question, right? How did this art form, something born from a really specific national experience, explode into this global language for emotion, for identity, and for storytelling? Well, that's exactly what we're here to unpack. To really get it, we have to go back. Way back. And the story doesn't start with a creative boom, but in the smoldering ruins of post-war Japan. So after World War II, the nation was just shattered. And in that vacuum, visual storytelling, manga, and early animation, it wasn't just entertainment. It was a way for Japan to talk to itself, to process this immense trauma, and ask these really deep questions about humanity, technology, and how to rebuild. And this is where you see this incredible spirit of innovation. The god of manga, Osamu Tezuka, was facing brutal budget constraints. He had no money. So his solution? Just use fewer animation frames. And this practical fix, this thing born completely out of necessity, accidentally created the iconic cinematic look of anime that focus on dynamic angles and emotional impact instead of perfectly fluid motion. Now, what's really wild when you look at this timeline is just the speed of it all. You go from the ruins of 45 to just 18 years later, in 63, Tezuka's Astro Boy is on TV, telling the story of a robot boy struggling to belong. By the 80s, the VHS boom is exporting cyberpunk classics like Akira all over the world. And then you jump to today, and the Japanese government has officially called anime a basic industry, putting it on the same level as manufacturing cars. That's a staggering evolution. But the success of anime isn't just about history or economics. Its real power, its secret sauce, lies in the deep psychological connection it forges with us, the viewers. A huge part of this is a concept called mukoseki, which basically translates to statelessness. By designing characters with these large eyes and ambiguous features, they're not explicitly tied to any single ethnicity. This makes them universally relatable. A teenager in Ohio can see their own struggle for acceptance in a character like Naruto, and that creates an incredibly powerful bond that just leaps across cultural lines. And this is why anime is so important, especially when we're young. It works as a kind of identity rehearsal. It gives us this safe space to explore all these complex, messy feelings of being an outsider, a failure, of trying to grow, by asking the same questions we're asking ourselves. This leads right into what psychologists call parasocial relationships, those strong, one-sided bonds we form with characters we love. Anime characters often show a raw emotional vulnerability that you just don't see in a lot of stoic Western heroes. And this creates this powerful sense of companionship that, according to studies, can genuinely help people feel less lonely. And it's that deep personal connection, multiplied by millions and millions of fans, that has fueled anime's transformation from a niche art form into a global economic juggernaut. $55 billion. Let that sink in for a second. That's the estimated value of the global market right now. We are so far past this being a subculture. This is a massive, mainstream industry with incredible financial power. And Japan is doubling down. The government's new Cool Japan strategy has a very clear goal: grow this industry to nearly $128 billion by 2033. So let's be clear, this isn't just about cultural exports anymore. This is a strategic national asset, a cornerstone of Japan's economic future. This table just perfectly shows how adaptable it is. In Japan, it's a core piece of their identity, and the money is in merchandise. In the US, it's fuel for the streaming wars and the ultimate signifier of cool. In China, it's seen as high-quality content that has to navigate strict censorship. It literally molds itself to fit each market.
So the bottom line is this. Anime is not a subculture anymore. Its aesthetics, its narrative beats are fully integrated into the mainstream. From the way Hollywood shoots an action scene to the filters on your phone, its influence is everywhere, whether you notice it or not.
But behind this incredible story of global success, there is a dark and really troubling paradox at the heart of the industry. On one side, you've got the dream, box office records, unbelievable cultural influence. But on the other, you have the grim reality for the creators. And this reality is being pushed to the breaking point by the relentless global demand from streaming giants for more and more content faster. It's a crisis so bad that studios are often called black factories. The numbers are just stark. Even while the industry is making billions of dollars, many of the young, passionate artists actually drawing the frames are earning salaries that are below the poverty line. This isn't sustainable. It's a system that's running on the burnout of its most vital talent. And now there's a new, almost existential question looming: AI. It's already starting to automate parts of the animation process. And while that might promise efficiency, it raises this huge debate. Can an algorithm ever replicate the human soul? Can it create sakuga, those brief, breathtaking sequences of animation where you can feel the artist's skill and passion in every frame? This all brings us to the future. And these two massive challenges, the human cost and the rise of AI, they aren't really just questions about anime. They're questions about the future of creativity itself. First, you have the ethical dilemma. How can an art form that brings so much joy and meaning to millions of people be produced under conditions that are crushing its creators? Can the dream survive the reality of how it's made? And the question gets even bigger. In an age where content is increasingly optimized by algorithms to keep us watching, what happens to art that's deliberately difficult, complex, or emotionally messy? Can it survive, or will it just get flattened into something more commercially safe? So the real takeaway here isn't just about what's next for our favorite shows. The story of anime right now is a mirror for our own world. It's at this massive crossroads between human artistry and machine efficiency, between global profit and creative well-being. And it forces us to ask a final crucial question. What values do we as the audience actually want to see brought to life?